Chapter 22. In July 1996, while Grattan was housed next to Rubalcaba, the two started having daily discussions, which proceeded in a variety of ways. Sometimes Rubalcaba only expounded on a particular subject. Sometimes Grattan asked a question and Rubalcaba answered it. And at other times, Rubalcaba asked Grattan a question, let him provide a short answer, and then provided a longer one himself. Grattan let Rubalcaba know what was going on in the streets and that Norteños were killing one another. Rubalcaba spoke at length about the Nuestra Familia, its history and goals. He knew all the NF's intricate details and mentioned high-ranking members by their first names. Grattan found that impressive, but he wasn't enticed until Rubalcaba struck the theme his life would eventually be said to have epitomized. Rubalcaba believed that even one person can make an immense difference and that the course of history itself, especially NF history, can be shaped by a single decision. Every carnale had a contribution to make, and every familiano should take his commitment seriously. Grattan, who was about as serious as they come, didn't take this comment lightly. He sincerely wanted to promote the true meaning of unity and carnalismo, to make a real difference in the way the youngsters had been doing things on the streets. Grattan informed Rubalcaba that he had just received a letter from one of his homeboys in Modesto. The homeboy, who had always looked up to Grattan, wrote him from the streets, and the contents of the letter basically let Grattan know what was going on in the free world and who was where and what they were doing. A newspaper article from Modesto B was included, which read in part, 3 people were arrested within minutes of a drive-by shooting in Modesto Saturday that wounded 2. Arrested were the driver, Amador Hernandez 3, 22, Salvador Andrade 20, and Michael Littenbringer 19, all of Modesto. Wounded in the attack were a 16-year-old boy shot in the leg, whose name was not released, and Martha Larry, 39, was also shot in the leg. Police did not know Sunday who the trio were shooting at, but said the violence did appear gang-related. After reading the article, Grattan let Rubalcaba read it. Grattan then explained the intricate details and let him know that the article pertained to 2 different Modesto Norteño street gangs, the West Side Boys and the Four Corners gang, who were at war with one another in an internal power struggle and or territorial dispute for control of West Modesto and its lucrative drug trade. He also explained that the individuals who were reportedly arrested were members of the West Side Boys gang, and the unidentified juvenile victim was Enrique Rica Galvin, a member of the Four Corners gang. Grattan further indicated that this was an ongoing problem and that hundreds of Norteño street gangs in Modesto and throughout Northern California were finding themselves in similar situations. He expressed the opinion that the Norteño street gangs lacked unity and discipline, and that they were defeating NF purposes by acting in ways guaranteed to escalate tension and violence. Grattan finished by telling Rubalcaba that, in his opinion, Norteño street gangs were causing far too many unnecessary problems, drawing too much heat from the local authorities, and that something needed to be done to unite the youngsters. Rubalcaba agreed. A few months later, sometime in August 1996, Grattan received another letter, a Modesto B newspaper article, which read in part, running into a corner market to escape a gun-waving man who was yelling, "Dead man walking, didn't save 18-year-old Modesto man's life Wednesday night." The gunman simply opened fire through the closed glass door, showering the parking lot with shattered glass, killing Danny Lopez with 1 shot and wounding Stephen J. Diedrich with another, Stanislaus County Sheriff's deputy said. The article then went on to say, the killing was just part of a night of violence, Sheriff Sergeant Johnny Mercer said. There was apparently a gang fight down on Pelton earlier today that Modesto police handled, he said. Then there is another fight here. The shooter is losing the fight, starts saying dead man walking, and comes up with the gun. The 2 victims ran into the market to get away, but were shot standing inside. Lopez was hit in the chest. Diedrich, 24, was hit in the left elbow. Wednesday's shooting could be tied to a gang-related drive-by shooting on Marisol Lane in June, officers said. After reading this article, Rubalcaba was visibly upset. Grattan explained that the shooter was none other than Enrique Rica Galvin, the unidentified juvenile victim in the last article. The new victims, Danny Lopez and Stephen J. Diedrich, were alleged associates of the West Side Boys. Rubalcaba quickly put two and two together. Although there were many other areas of concern behind the walls and on the streets, he was very pissed off that Norteños were killing Norteños. Since the brass was experiencing enough internal problems of its own, it was decided that once Grattan paroled, along with all other orders, he would be responsible for reuniting all Norteños throughout Northern California. Yeah, right. This was a gigantic task, and one that needed immediate attention, as it was a well-known fact that every major Northern California city had its share of red-on-red violence. Rubalcaba, who also let Grattan know what was going on with the San Jose indictments, the FBI's ongoing investigation, and how Ronnie Big Lucky Shelton and Vincent Chante Arroyo had turned informants, decided that Grattan would completely avoid Santa Clara County. Grattan was more than happy to comply. No, there were, however, many other problem areas such as Stockton, Sacramento, San Francisco, and Salinas. All were NF strongholds that Grattan would have to deal with at a later date. He knew he had his work cut out for him, and that other high-ranking NF leaders weren't about to make things any easier. Something was about to give. Big Smiley and Pantera continued to cause a lot of bad blood behind the walls, and it was only a matter of time before it spilled over into the streets.